Hello, everybody, and welcome to our podcast where we discuss everything that your inner nerd loves. This is the Nerds Awaken. For today's episode, we will be talking about Deadpool. We're going to go over some Easter eggs and references, and we're going to give our overall opinion on the movie. I am joined today by my co-host Aiden.
Hello.
And without further ado, let's kick it off.
First of all, real quick, we're going to be giving our personal opinions on this movie. I thought the Deadpool movie was, first of all, very well written, very well performed, and it sticks to the source material extremely well, more than pretty much any comic book movie that we've seen so far. Ryan Reynolds is phenomenal as Wade Wilson, or as, obviously, Deadpool. They did a really good job of choosing a cast, even though it was mostly very unpopular or not well-known actors because of the low budget they had for the film. And all of them I think they did just a fantastic job portraying their characters. Even if some of them were slightly altered, all that really mattered was that Deadpool was spot on. There's several fourth wall breaks, jokes to do with other films, or previous X-Men films, and even Wade Wilson's character makes jokes about Ryan Reynolds and characters that he's played before. There's a lot of unnecessary violence, which is actually really good. It makes the movie even funnier with all the jokes that are already in there. There's a lot of blood, gore, twisted jokes, and all of it is just fantastic. It's Deadpool.
I'm just going to add a few things because I do agree with everything that Aiden just said. I think that the fact that Deadpool takes place in the X-Men movie universe makes it even better because adding Colossus to the movie helps connect Deadpool to the rest of the universe, even though the current timeline is a bit confusing still. It was great to see new, lesser-known mutants in the movie like Negasonic Teenage Warhead, Angel Dust, and Ajax. I do think that the Deadpool movie and its success opened a lot of doors to a lot of new things, but we will get there later on. Right now, we're going to talk about some of the most prominent references and Easter eggs that we spotted in the movie. First of all, the most prominent references, of course, was Deadpool referencing both the roles he played in different franchises with Green Lantern, or roles he played in the Fox X-Men universe, for example, in the X-Men Origins movie. When recounting his days spent in the Special Forces, Wade lets Weasel know that it wasn't all bad since he got to travel around the world meeting new and exciting people, and then kill them. This, of course, is a nod to Ryan Reynolds' role in X-Men Origins Wolverine, where he played Wade Wilson. But thanks to Days of Future Past, that character doesn't exist anymore and is now replaced with the current Deadpool, which is safe to say that in every way more comic book accurate than what we got in the X-Men Origins. We also see a small toy version of the X-Men Origins Wolverine's take on Deadpool. Another reference to one of Reynolds' previous roles was when Wade was being wheeled into the testing facility to have his cancer cured and become supposedly a superhero. The only thing he asked for was that his suit was not animated or green. So these are clearly shots fired at his DC role of Green Lantern.
A few references that the movie makes to the current X-Men timeline. Deadpool says to Colossus, "Tell Beast to stop shitting on my lawn," which is obviously a reference to Beast, or also known as Hank McCoy, who has been in the other X-Men movies. And when Colossus is dragging him to the ship and he's saying, "We're going to take you to see Professor X," and he says, "Which one? Stewart or McCavie?" these timelines are so confusing. That's an obvious reference to the two actors who have played Charles Xavier, and the timelines are so confusing. It's true, because all these different timelines, like how Days of Future Past reset everything, all that stuff, it's very confusing, and they're poking fun at that in their own movie. Another nod to the X-Men universe and the budget of the movie is when Deadpool comes to the X-Mansion to get Colossus and Negasonic Teenage Warhead. He says, "It's a big house. It's weird. I only ever see the two of you, almost like the studio couldn't afford another X-Men." So that's basically him, making fun of how the low budget they had and how much money it would have cost to put another X-Men in. But that means that there obviously is going to be more X-Men in the future. It's not like those are the only two that we're ever going to see. Speaking of other X-Men, there's actually a scene when Deadpool is in the testing facility. He sees some sort of mutant with like spikes sticking out of her, and most likely, by all appearances, that's Marrow, who is a mutant from the comic books who eventually joins the X-Men.
One of the main characters in this movie was Deadpool's love interest, which is Vanessa Carlyle, played by Morena Baccarin. In the comics, Vanessa Carlyle was also known as Copycat, who was a mutant capable of shapeshifting. Now, in this movie, she showed no sign of having this sort of powers. She did, however, claim that she played a lot of parts in her life, but a damsel in distress isn't one of them. Now, this could just be a figure of speech. If you want to be more literal, this could be a nod to her powers. Maybe in the sequel, we get to see her with her powers, maybe when Ajax trapped her in that containment unit that deprived her of her oxygen. That could have activated her mutant gene. For all we know, when Ajax trapped Vanessa in the containment unit, he could have injected her with the same serum that he injected Deadpool with to activate her mutant gene. Moving on to some other references that were, in a way, a jab to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. First off is Bob. Now, in the movie, while in the third act of the movie, Deadpool stops himself from killing one of the guards that he's fighting because he recognized him. He was a former Special Forces operative who Deadpool shared a lot of memories of TGI Fridays back in the day. The soldier was revealed to be named Bob. Now, as we know, in the comics, Deadpool has a sort of a sidekick who is Bob, agent of Hydra. Now, in this movie, they couldn't have used Hydra because Hydra is a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The next reference that might be a jab at Marvel Cinematic Universe is the actual site of the third act, which is this huge structure. Now, when Negasonic causes the structure to collapse, it reveals that it has engines that resemble repulsors placed around the ship's hull. Now, as it comes tumbling down, we can see that structure is in fact a helicarrier.
Obviously, we're going to have a Deadpool 2 because at the end credit scene of Deadpool, Deadpool talks to the screen, he says, "You're expecting something for Deadpool 2, and he says, "I can tell you one thing, Cable's gonna be in it." So that's all we know so far. Some things we want to see in Deadpool 2 are, first of all, obviously, Cable, who we know is gonna be in it. We'd like to see him be played by John Hamm. We think he's, perfect, he would make a spot-on Cable, in our opinion. Other characters we'd like to see are, maybe Domino, more X-Men, that would be good, which would, help tie Deadpool into the X-Men movies, and possibly the beginning of the X-Force, because we know there's going to be an X-Force movie, and we know that Cable's going to lead the X-Force.
Maybe we can even see Gambit in the sequel, for all we know. We don't know anything about the Gambit movie. We don't know where the Gambit movie fits in the current timeline. So we could see him in the Deadpool sequel. I'd also like to see Deadpool's voices, the voices he has in his head in the comics. They were cut from the first movie. But now, with the success of the first movie, I think that they could have Deadpool's insanity evolve to the point where he gains these two voices in his head. I think it would be really cool to see that. Now, just to finish today's episode, I just wanted to say, with the success of an R-rated comic book movie, I think that this may open new doors for the comic book universe. For example, there is already speculation that the third Wolverine movie is going to be rated R, but I also think that this could be an opportunity for other franchises to introduce more gory characters without fearing an R rating. For example, DC's Lobo.
Thank you guys so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed. Please comment down below what you thought of Deadpool and any characters you'd like to see in Deadpool 2 and anything else like that.
And please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoy our content. And don't forget to tune in next week where we will be talking about X-Men Apocalypse.
Alright guys, see you then.
Hasta luego. Chica chica.
Shit. Did I leave the stove on?